Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Rabbil Alameen. Wa akibatun lil mustaqim. Wala rahmana ila ala dalimeen. Wa salatu wassalam ala rasulina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Innani uhibbu mu'minin wala yukarihu mushrikeen. ومحمدا هو سيدنا محبوبنا إنه كان سيد المرسلين صلوات الله تعالى وسلامه عليه. My dear brothers and sisters, thank you for those who will show up in due time and those who want to participate in this discussion today about Niger, about the Sahel, and about Ecowas. Because this is a very important topic now, which is encompassing the whole world. Everybody has an opinion about it, and I want to hear your opinion today, or if you want to leave a note another time, that's quite all right. And the chat is available for anyone who wants to come and ask questions or put their input. Everything will be entertained. And because this is a very important topic, because Africa is going through growing pains, so to speak. It's trying to break the chains of colonialism from its back. And it's about time. It's been 400 years or more that the Europeans, the Americans, we know them in the Fulfulde language as Tuba. And they have had a stranglehold over Africa too long, and Africa is not theirs anymore. And they're having a hard time gripping that. They can't lay bombs over the whole continent, and they themselves expect to survive, because the ecosystem in the world is also based here and in the Amazon. So if they destroy everything here, the earth as we know it will probably go by the wayside. Because Subhanahu wa ta'ala has got this place first. He put man here first. So therefore, the event that the Tubab will come and to destroy everything, it's not possible. And the Europeans have got their wealth for centuries here. That's how they became very rich and how we became very poor. And so all of them in unison still want to control the continent. But slowly we're starting to throw them out. And we're starting to hear some of our younger generations, because my generation, as I have said, they have failed. They have failed Africa big time. And the generations preceding it failed it big time. We begin to, from 700s to the 1800s, we were in control. The Europeans were not in control. The Tuba was not in control of Africa. We were. But then when the colonial period became evident as the Europeans, the Tuba became stronger, then we became weaker, and then we began to fight one another. Then, colonialism took place, and then we've been behind the 8 ball ever since. But now we're starting to climb out of this. We're not quite out of it yet, and we still have a long time waiting, to be honest, before we can say that we're totally free, because our borders are not open. Our borders are closed. We don't have the African passport, which is an atrocity because it was voted for, but it's never been implemented. In 2021, we are supposed to have implemented all the borders of Africa now open. That still has not been implemented because it was blocked. So, we have a myriad of problems. So this is where it's at. And it's unfortunate that we're in this predicament. And the fluid situations that's going on in the Sahel in particular. Sudan is a different category all in itself. But what's got everybody mesmerized right now is what's happening in Niger, and all of the players in it. We have those who want to invade, and then we have now sister states who want to come back to play of the new junta. So all those things into play, And that's what I want to discuss. And I'm available to hear anybody, their comments and what they have to say and whatnot and so on. We are professionals. We're not children, so we act accordingly. If you disagree, disagree. No problem. I have no problem with that. We disagree, and we use Polaco because I'm a Muslim and I'm Fulani. So we have this code of conduct that we must have respect for one another. So any uncouth comments, that's directed at me or anyone else won't be entertained. But other than that, even if we disagree on something or policy, that's not something to get you run off because we all have our opinion. What we need here in Africa, you may differ. You may say, look, I think democratic ways and means is the best way for the Muslims to grow forward. I disagree with that. So we can disagree to disagree. You know what I mean? And I give you my proofs, you give me what you think, and we can go on because we're Africans. We have this in our mind. We want to see Africa free. We know that. And we have to come together and we have to discuss it. This has not been done properly for 400 years. So let me see who's here right now. Salam alaikum, my dear brother, happy companion. And salam, yeah. Let me see here. My brother here. Khan. Okay, if I don't pronounce it, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sorry, they're crying. They're crying because slowly African countries getting out of control and starting to stand up on their feet. Brother, that is a true statement. That is a true statement. When the facts led to Niger, it's interesting. You see the lament came from the president of France. He was so quick because he was assuming that it'll be just a cakewalk again to walk into Sahel and then walk into Niger, kick some black butt, and then everybody fall down and he goes back to taking the uranium for nothing and controlling the land. But this time the brothers said, I'm not going to have that. I've had enough of that. And we're ready to fight you. So the brothers in Mali, the brothers in Burkina Faso, I'm not talking about their coups. I'm talking about the leaders they have there. That's a different topic altogether. But those brothers said, hey, no, we ain't having it. We're going to back the play of our brother in Niger. The French couldn't stand that. They expect Americans to come in and say, yeah, we're going to deal with these black boys. They didn't do it. On top of that, the only lone wolf in the whole pack, Russia, and the Wagner group said, no, I'm going to pack the brothers from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger against the Americans and the French and anyone else and Ecowas who want to come into Niger. So we got a hell of a mess, brothers and sisters. And our brother here stated right, because we have a hell of a mess that's going on in Niger. And we'll get more into that as we go. And so my dear brother, thanks for showing up. This is a very busy man in the Gambia. He's got a lot of business ventures there. And he's from Long Beach. I'm from Compton, California. So we're right next door. And this brother here has a nice family. And he's very, very busy. And he took time to spend a little time here today. And I greatly appreciate that. I'll look him up. If you have some questions about land, business ventures inside the Gambia, or gaining residency, or whatever the situation may be, getting consultation, get a hold of this dear brother here, and he will square you away big time there in the Gambia. And I'm glad to see him here. Thank you very much, my dear brother. I'm putting up some things and I want us to look at this. Now, the brothers and sisters who show up, maybe today, because Saturday, a lot of people work, all week long. They got to shop and everything. I know how it was. I lived in America one time. I know Saturday was family day for me, especially when I had my children. They were young. It was McDonald's, Domino's, pizza. You know what I mean? Doing schnitzels, go to the beach or go to a park. I understand the family time. Those who may see this in the future, you can write in the comment section. I will answer, entertain those thoughts. But I just thought today I would do something different and just talk about the region and get your input in this. The UN today cannot fight terrorism. This is a comment that was made, brothers and sisters. The commissioner of Ecowas, very interesting brother. He's not a Muslim. He's not Fulani as well. I don't know what the brothers, I don't know if he's a Santi, because he looked to me like he's a Santi. I'm not sure. From Ghana, I'm not sure. But this brother had some very interesting comments that he had about Niger. Very, very interesting. And he gave a telling interview about Ecowas and its deadly, unhealthy relationship with the Americans in particular. And so in the comments, he was talking about, because he knows he's a statesman, he said the UN cannot fight terrorism. The threat that defines the conflict environment in West Africa is terrorism. I disagree with the brother in this regard, because any of the groups who want to bring Sharia law and they don't want democratic ways and means are known as terrorism, as you heard me talk about many, many, many times. And the Security Council is divided on fighting terrorism, because how can you fight, okay, Fulani herdsmen? Let's look at it from this standpoint, brothers and sisters. You got them going from the west to the east to the west. They're herding their cattle. Now they have been wronged. They have been maligned. They have been killed off. So now they have taken to the, as everybody said, to the AK-47 to protect themselves. Their sheer numbers and how far they're spread apart is a defining factor for them, because even though they have listed them as terrorists, because of the way they have ferociously defended themselves, and many times they're wrong in how they defended themselves, but they had to do something to get the people off their back, because they were being relentlessly killed. See, so, but he has made this comment. And I agree that the UN doesn't know how to fight it, because they themselves don't understand who is actually a terrorist or not. See, that's an issue. The U.S. says that they prefer a peaceful solution of the crisis in Niger. I'm just throwing these things out there for you to think about and for you guys to make your comments on. They said they want a peaceful resolution of the crisis, but I'm gonna get into something that is very interesting about the latest development in Niger. They said they will support Ecowas in a military intervention. See, this is what is very puzzling. As you saw my take on some of this, I asked you some your opinions on these topics here, like this. The Ecowas, they are staunchly supported by the Americans, no doubt. And you have to ask why this is being supported by the Americans. And so now you look at this, I raised a question up here about that. Can we trust Ecowas and their American handlers? Can we trust them? In my opinion, I cannot. Because anytime you have the Europeans, the Tubab nations behind you, there's something wrong. And they have a motive behind that. And that motive is not to protect you and other black faces. As their aim is to control the narrative and use black faces to do it. They don't want to bring in their homegrown Tubab American youngsters and Hispanic Americans, black Americans and their militaries to come into the Sahel and get killed. They don't want that, because it will be a graveyard. It'd be a lot of dying, because the navigation of this terrain is something, as you heard me talk about many times. So they like to see a flunky, a patsy of some sort to do the bidding for them, and a proxy to start the war for them. They'll stay back, fund it, and bark out the orders while black folk kill one another. And then after the smoke is cleared, they'll come in and control everything. So this is some of the things, like what I said. Why hasn't the general and world media covered the Nigerian ulama visit to Niger? Now, this is an issue too, brothers and sisters. It's not well known that the selected brothers of the ulama, which is very interesting. The president, I gave his kudos last week, because he allowed these brothers to go into Niger to mediate, which was a beautiful thing in my eyes, to see these brothers, the ulama, the Islamic scholars, some of the Islamic scholars there in Nigeria, to go into Niger. And what's so refreshing about this, brothers and sisters, I see it from this standpoint. Our brothers, our scholars here are not in Armani suits. I'm sick of seeing Africans dressed like Europeans. Here we are on the continent. We have beautiful clothing like you see here, but we prefer to don American and European type clothing. I disagree with that. Now, yes, when we go to the United States, we need to blend in, and we have fatwas concerning that issue that we have to blend in to the region. But we're in Africa, we don't have to blend into anything they say. This is our place. This is our land. This is our customs. This is our clothes. So why can't we wear these agbadas? And this is the issue I've been raising a long time. I'm frankly tired of seeing the Europeans come to visit. They come to our land. So why do we have to adapt to what they wear? They should be adapting to what they should be wearing our clothing. Because if they want to come in and to give us honor, but they won't do that. So our people change clothing from these beautiful agbadas from our scholars here and wear suits. And that's not right. And see, and now you see a beautiful picture here. Here they're arriving in Niger. This is what I like to see. I know these are African brothers, Muslim scholars. Not one of them is in an Armani suit here. I'm not talking about the man in the background. He's not a scholar. He's a private security of some sort. But our brothers come and the ulama of Niger, the two brothers in the blue, they come to greet their brothers from Nigeria. This is a beautiful thing. And the press is not covering as much for obvious reasons. I've seen in the West where they talk about, they said that they sent a delegation, but they never want to give Islam credit for anything. See, this is what is perplexing, but we know what they are. This is why the Prophet ﷺ had comments about the enemies of Allah. He's had stern comments about the enemies of Allah, and he's made it clear his position about the enemies, how you and me don't take them as friends and protectors. He's made it clear. And this is some of the reasons why we should be very leery of dealing with them, because you know, when you ask the questions, well, what should we do when we are dealing with our disbelievers? The Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has made it clear about that, and our Prophet ﷺ has made it clear about that. But we have to be very cognizant, and we have to be very mindful of that, and we don't mistreat anybody. Even if they're disbelievers, we have no right to mistreat somebody unless they are doing things to us. And when they do that, then we reciprocate that, you know, that mold against them. But I personally love this because I get the chance now, and for you there, especially in the United States, to see your Black brothers dressed in beautiful clothing that we have here, and showcase that, and showcase our clothing, showcase it, how we look good in it. Now you can imagine, you see these brothers behind them, how they look. They look in these Western suits. They don't look good at all. See, they don't look good at all. And this is again why the situation is very you know, perplexing when I see our Black brothers wearing the European clothing and whatnot, and then they expect everybody to follow suit. And I just won't do it. And you know, me personally, I just won't do it. I'm here in Africa now, so I wear the clothing that's germane, in particular, to Maghreb, and so forth and so on. All the agbadas are not the same. From in Niger, they look differently than some in the Gambia, in Senegal, Mauritania, in Morocco. We call it dara. So we all have different styles, but it's still the same thing. It's African clothing. That's the main thing. And it's our brothers who are wearing it, and they look good in it. And so again, brothers and sisters, this situation here is the president of Nigeria. Kudos to him. He gave the ulama there in Nigeria, selected brothers, to go meet and mediate the situation between Nigeria, the Ecowas, and Niger. So he let the scholars from Nigeria go in there to meet with with their brothers there in Niger. This is a beautiful thing that we see here. And here they're meeting here. The left here is Niger. The right here are scholars from Nigeria. And so here they're discussing the issue about, what has happened, the coup and whatnot. But this is, again, brothers and sisters, something that I'm happy to see a situation like that. And so, and how we look at this, should Mali, Burkina Faso back the play of the de facto Niger government? Well, that's an issue. I would say yes. And even though they're not ruling according to what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has revealed, but in situations like this, we have to close ranks. Because you think about the time of slavery, when the Europeans, the Tubab Europeans were coming in, and the Americans, when they were coming in to take my ancestors back into the Americas, we did not support one another. When the Portuguese began to dock ship, the black brothers did not fight in unison against them. If they'd have done this, we'd have drove the Tubab back to the ocean. But we didn't do it. And so for so long, we've had this attitude when a brother over here, he may have wronged himself. But when the Tubab decided to go after him, we sit back and let it happen. I think those days are starting to go by the wayside. And this is what's tripped up the Americans. This is what's tripped up the French. This is what has tripped up the British, because now they saw the brothers backing the play of another brother. Even if he's wrong, they say, look, we're not going to let you come in, Tubab, and do like you have been doing for hundreds of years. You come in here to fight our brother, we're going to back his play. And this is what has happened. This is why we have a confusion situation. The Ecowas, they're waiting for their Tubab handlers to give them the final okay and that with their logistical support before they try to invade. But as you heard me say, brothers and sisters, many times, Ecowas has a serious problem in all of its states. They have a serious Fulani problem. They haven't even been able to solve that. Now, how are they going to go in Niger and go and fight the brothers there? And they have modern weaponry on top of that. Now they're going to have to fight the Muslims from Burkina Faso and Mali as well. And we haven't even talked about the Mujahideen that are there. We got the Afro-Tuareg, the Afro-Arabs, and we have the Fulani. And we have the Hausa in Niger as well. So we haven't talked about that. Are they going to sit back and let the Tubab run roughshod through the country? I don't think so. See, they're not going to sit there and say, yes, a boss, and not fight. They're going to fight. So now we have a problem that the Europeans see this, they don't like it, and they don't know what to do with it. And again, can we trust Ecowas and their American handlers? Can we do that? That's something that each one of us have to think about and ask the question about. Now, what is your opinion on this? Which governance is best suited to empower us? You heard me for weeks to say many times, I've given you my opinion, and I base it upon what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says in the Quran Kareem. I base it also by what the Prophet ﷺ has said about this issue. And so I say what they say. And I stand back that and I use the scriptures to do it. I have enough proof to tell me why I don't pick democratic ways and means, because it can be bent, twisted, changed at the whims of the disbelievers and those who are governing under this. As we've seen in coups after coups, they twist the Constitution, which allows them to overthrow their brother and allows the Tubab to call the shots. So I disagree with that and whatnot, that if those who said democratic, I understand. You give me your proofs why you believe it's best. There's no problem with that. And our brother said it right about this, because the Africans, in this instance, coming together, that's very interesting, isn't it? They didn't expect that. See, they didn't expect that at all. And brothers and sisters, there's quite a few articles talking about the issues of Niger as we speak. I don't know what many of you've heard about, but they were talking about the junta there in Niger. We're talking about prosecuting the ex-president Bazoum. And this is very interesting, brothers and sisters, because when you think about this, what this man did at his watch is atrocious. Not only was he killing the Fulani, he killed the country because he gave 95% of the mineral wealth to the Tuba. He kept 5% for his country. Niger is voted as the second most poorest country in the world, with all this mineral wealth that would make most of them millionaires. That's how much the Niger people could be rich from the mineral wealth, diamonds, gold, bauxite, uranium, all that's sold on market value. Every Nigerian should be very wealthy there. This man, his contract was exposed. He allowed many foreign entities to hold bases on his land. All this has been exposed now. Why they overthrow him? Now, I'm not talking about right or wrong. I'm just giving you the instance what they're talking about. Why they want to charge him for high treason. See, and so many of the European Tubab nations are against this situation, saying that they didn't like what has happened. But the bottom line is, we have a fact. How can this man here say that he's African? He's down for his people in Niger. He's the first Afro-Arab to take control of Niger, and he signs the wealth away to foreign powers. He's only collecting 5% of that wealth. And you can imagine 2.5 to 3% of that wealth is going in the pockets of many other people. And 2% go to the people. And Niger is the most poorest country in the world today, second most. It depends on Nigeria, Chad, and others for its subsidies. This is atrocious. And so they said they had to overthrow this man. And also they used the thing by saying that the security situation was out of control. Now, brothers and sisters, here's what's so funny about this. You have army bases, U.S. You have, I think, we know the French are there. I'm not sure all the bases that are located there, but I know the Americans there. I know the French there in particular. And the Russians, we know the Wagner group are there. With that said, Niger is still run mainly by Mujahideen groups. They are controlling many portions of land in Niger today. That's right, brothers and sisters. They have a large portion of that. And they're running the Sharia law in many of those areas as we speak. They're not running democratic ways and means. They have Sharia courts, they have Hezbollah police, and the people have been getting notices in all the areas that they're controlling that they're running the Sharia. With all of the might of the Tubab there, they haven't been able to take these people out. So we have to look at that for what it is. And they said that here that Bazoum was being charged following the post-coup exchanges with high-ranking West African politicians who are very upset because they want democratic ways and means. And their international mentors, again, they know the Niger government, the new government said the West African politicians and their international mentors, meaning the Tubab who's controlling them, is what they mean by this. And then who the leaders of the revolt accused of making false allegations attempting to derail peaceful transition in order to justify military intervention. That's right, because the Americans and the French want the wholesale invasion. They want Ecowas to do the work for them by using black faces to go and fight and die in Niger, so then the Americans and the French can resume back their problems. I mean, gaining their wealth. But now they have to contend with Putin and they have to contend with Wagner. And they don't like that. See, they have a serious situation. If they decide to invade, they're going to have to take on Mali. They got to take on Burkina Faso. Now, there's reports that Algeria, which is to the north, I got to find my map here. Let's see here. We can find a map. That's funny, the map. Okay, well, let me see if this is it here. Okay, yeah. Now, we look at this here. Algeria said they will not tolerate an invasion into Niger, because Niger, you look at it, is a very interesting area. It's encompassed by Mali, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, and Chad, Algeria to the north. See, so we have that. And this problem is exacerbating, because if the Americans and the French, along with their flunkies, the Ecowas, they invade, we're going to have a big war in our hands. A big war. And it's going to be nasty. It's going to be very nasty. So when we see this thing, we have a situation that is very fluid. We have comment here. Our brother said, inshallah, these countries will rise and join in hand, plus they will have local public support. Yes, without the public support, that is a problem, in itself. But what is perplexing about the people is how finicky they are. The democratic ways and means are being overthrown because the people in itself basically don't know what they want. And the local people, I don't care if it's in Sudan, I don't care if it's in Guinea, Conakry, I don't care if it's in Fez, Morocco, or any place. Today, the people are finicky. They don't know exactly what they want. One thing I do know, they don't want the Sharia law. They want to be governed by democratic ways and means. They want to be allowed to do many different things, but the people are being left in the background through this governance. So when you put the democratic ways and means in there, this is a problem. And the people don't know what they want. And this is a big, severe problem. How you doing, my dear brother? The people of Niger has the right to self-determination as the people in the Declaration of Union. Yes, my dear brother, they do. They have the right. If they say they're going to back the new leadership, then it's not for you or me or anyone else to say that they're wrong, because they live there. This is their area. So if they decide they want new governance, even if we disagree with that, we have to honor that. And then we have to go from there, and we should talk with our brothers and so forth. The problem we have is that many of our brothers are not, they're finicky, as I said. They're on board today, but how about 6 months from now, when their table is not set good, they don't have enough food, and they see the prices rise again. What's going to happen with the new junta there in Niger? They're going to say, hey, man, you know what? I thought these guys were going to put food on my table. They're not doing it. And then here we go again. See? And I'm going to talk about something, the new development that's taken place that I find very interesting about the new Niger government. And that's why I feel it's going to be on the downside. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brother. Also, Anjarama. I want to cover something here. There was an article that was written that exposed something. Brothers and sisters, look at this. Niger junta appoints U.S. trained military officers to key jobs. Now, brothers and sisters, if you look at every coup that's taken place, you'll see officers who have been trained where? In the U.S. Let's look at Palestine. We had the same problem. Let's look at Egypt. When Egypt, our strong brother, Morsi Rahimullah, is dead. When he was running the show, it was U.S. trained officers who were in cahoots with the Americans, who were giving them intelligence reports, and they finally gave them the okay to overthrow our brother Morsi. Now the new Niger junta is making a grave mistake by putting U.S. trained military officers. Who do you think their loyalties to? You, me, Niger? No, it's to the Americans. They will be reporting directly to them. So now they got another foothold for another coup to take place at modern times again, probably shortly, because these U.S. military officers will look at the ground level and they will see if it's working. They'll go to the American handlers and say, look, the new government is not working. The people are upset, and they'll give them the authorization to overthrow the new. This is what I'm talking about. See, this situation here is disgraceful. I would not trust anybody I know that's trained in the United States, because we know that the Americans have trained the African selected African leaders for coups. We know this. We've seen this. We know that they have done this, and we have the proof that they have done this, which I've went over before here. I'm trying to find something here. Democracy. Yeah, here we go. Here, look. The U.S. general admits training Africans for what? Coups. Now, how can we put black faces who've been trained by them into our governments? That's a ticket for a revolution again, a revolt, a coup, because they're going to be reporting to the general, who's the black man here, the African American here. They'll be reporting to him or the underlings about what's going on face value. They'll say, look, it's not working in Niger, and here we go again. They are trained by the U.S. to overthrow the governments. See, so our new government here in Niger has already got U.S. trained generals in their government already. So what are they thinking about? Assalamu alaikum, my dear brother. How you doing? Eagle Mindset Fitness. How you doing, my dear brother? Keep it good. Thank you very much for your comments. Brothers and sisters, it's a serious matter. We're looking at modern times. Many of us may not consider it a serious matter because we all are worried about how we pay our bills, the food we eat, the life that we're living. And we're not happy about when we go to the store, we see the food prices jump up, and we see the rising crime, and we see bad governance in America everywhere. Now, something's wrong when they find cocaine inside the White House. I mean, you see it's gone down here. You had a thug, former president, in there. I don't need to even mention his name. And he's being indicted for in many different states now. And then now you have the current, presidency, and they find cocaine inside the White House. I mean, you think about it. Bad governance is everywhere. It's everywhere today. So we have a tendency not to look at our brother's plight. Even our brother may be suffering more than we're suffering, but we should as Africans, because it does affect us. See, we have to do something to put younger brothers and sisters in the position of power, because we have to open up the borders. That is the key. I can't travel to Ghana because they won't, because the Tubab told him, no, don't let this man, these type of scholars or intellectuals into your country, because they will cause revolution, which is hogwash. But yet and still, they allow the Tubab with his appendages in his hand, he can go there to have sexual relations and do what he wants there in Ghana, no problem. And all through the West Africa, he has no problem going in and out. I cannot do that. See, we need to change that. I want to go from Fez, Morocco, and Juma, meet my brothers in Sudan. Maybe the brother say, hey man, you and your family come make Juma in the weekend here in Khartoum. I can't do it. See? But in Europe, who they have open borders, the brother calls somebody in Belgium, he can leave Belgium to go into England, no problem. But a black man who's in Senegal, he's going to have a hard time getting into Sudan. But the 2-Bob has no such problem. So our younger generation have to take hold of Africa and open up all of these borders. They have to. And give us the passports so we can start to see one another. All of us who are chatting here now should be able to meet. We should have some situation where maybe we want to get together. We could say we'll meet our brother Saeed in the Gambia, and we'll set a date. Say, and in 3 months we'll have a big convention. All the brothers here, we'll get together and have a good time in the Gambia. We can't do it. But if we're 2-Bob, we can. If we want to have a convention in the Gambia, we can take a bunch of 2-Bob from all over the world, no problem. He can come in and out of the Gambia. But all the brothers here, we cannot do it. That's a shame. That's got to stop. That's got to stop. We got to change that. So when we talk about the issues again, too, about the Islamic governance, we have to have that. Brothers, sisters, I mean, we have enough proof now at our hand to show us that we need in Islamic governance. Because I'll give you the proof again to this. Any of you go back and look at the research, go from the 700s to the 1800s and look what happened in all of those emirates and all of the sultanates. The people had food, the people had clothing, they had good governance. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us. Some of the richest known empires of the world were Muslim, and some in Africa. That was not under democratic ways and means. It was under Islamic law. Some of the most powerful sultanates that we understand were Fulani, stretching especially from the 1300s to the 1800s. And they were all running under the Sharia law. And you know what's funny about that also? From the 1300s to the 1800s, guess what the lingua franca was? The language that was being spoken as the official language across mostly in the Islamic world? Arabic. But Fola and Bambara and Hausa, yes, those languages being spoken. But the commerce and dealing with the Islamic issues was done, and correspondence was done in Arabic. Then, of course, when the colonial period came, all that came by the wayside, and and you see the sorry state that we're in. All this by design to have done a lot of damage to Africa, but their plan have failed, inshallah. Yes, we know, because our Prophet ﷺ has already told us that the Islamic way of life and governance will rule the world. We're coming to that. He said that. And if you look at the Prophet ﷺ in the hadiths, he gave us a timeline for each one of us to look at, because now we know he's telling the truth, because he gave us signals. One of the signals was the UAE. He said that the desert Bedouin built the world's tallest buildings. Okay, he said this. And I know they had to blow away the people in the 7th century, because the Bedouin were out in the desert who, were wild, fighting, whoring, having wars over women, kidnapping each other's women, so forth and so on. So, and they were, a very rough group of people and unsophisticated, so to speak. When he told the Sahaba that those people that you see in the desert today, in the future, will have this world, highest buildings, it had to blow them away. They came to pass. And there's other signs. So we know that the Islamic governance is coming. And we need that now, because the democratic ways and means is killing us. It's killing us. Right now, the world is in a dire strait because all the prices of food, I don't care where you go, South America, United States, you go to Canada, you go to the West Indies, Caribbean, you go to, to the Caribbean, Europe, Asia, the prices are skyrocketing up for food under the democratic ways and means. See, and those who are running the Sharia law are doing very well. That should give us a good indication. So when we see these situations, then we should look at it for what it is, brothers and sisters. We need help, and we need each one of us to look at this and take it in stride. This is a brother here who's the commissioner for the Ecowas. He had some interesting comments. He admitted the coordination between the Americans and Ecowas. They can't do anything without the Americans giving them the say so. That's why I said to everyone before. I've said this before about this issue. Can we trust any African entity who is in cahoots with the West? We cannot. Because anytime the U.S. in particular is involved in anything with us, we're one step from a coup. And as you saw what has happened in Niger, Niger has now appointed, Western-backed generals and other military personnel who have been trained inside the United States to work inside. I don't know how the new Nigerian government agreed to such a thing. I don't know how. But I know this, if you think about it, they're one step from a coup now, because those Western-backed generals who are there now are going to look at them closely and make their reports, weekly or whatever the situation is, to the Americans. And we'll be talking about Niger again, probably in 6 months or a year, or maybe even less. And this gentleman here has some very pointed comments about, I'm looking at some of his comments that he made here about about ECOWAS and so forth and so on. I disagree with the brother in this regard, but that's the way it is. I have a disagreement, because he considers terrorism to be the forefront of problems in the region. It's bad governance, brothers and sisters, because the terrorism is not what we all say. When a military convoy backed by Wagner or the Americans or the French, they come in and kill 300 Fulani. And when those Fulani brothers retaliate, the Fulani brothers who retaliate are now called terrorists, not those who killed his family and so forth and so on. They're not terrorists. But when he goes to retaliate, they call this terrorism. And this is not right. That's why I said many times they're going to have to coordinate to define what what is actually a terrorist. And they have a new brother who's now he's the new prime minister of Niger. And this brother here is very astute. The new prime minister, he's very astute, but again, he's not issuing the Sharia law. And this is a problem. And when we look at Niger again, brothers and sisters, I have to ask us a question. We have a large population of Hausa. We have a large population of Fulani. And my understanding is they even have some Bambara as well. Why can't those brothers get together and take Niger? Because it's there for the taking now. But they can't seem to get together. And the Afro-Arabs and the Afro-Tuaregs are controlling the state, the portions of land that the government owns, are controlling. Our brothers should be able to go in there, the Hausa brothers and the Fulani brothers get together and go in there and take the place out. They have the manpower to do it, but they can't get together. And this is what always hurts us, and so forth and so on. Because if they don't like the direction that the country's going, they should do something about it. Now, I'm not talking about, again, we have, as Muslims, we have certain precautions to overthrow a government. I'm not talking about overthrowing the government. They have to have sheer power voting and having the will of the people to come and help them in order to bring the right governance. This coup in Niger was bloodless. There was no bombing, there was no kidnapping, there were no killings. It was peacefully done, Alhamdulillah, at least that's a good thing that happened. That no one was killed, but still, the government was overthrown. And as you heard me say, I don't know in a situation like this when I know that my president gave 95% of the wealth to the Tuba, and we only kept 5%. We only probably seen on the ground maybe 1 to 2% to 3% else went to the pockets of many politicians. See, so then we have military bases, foreign military bases in a Muslim state, which is definitely haram. That's not Sharia law. So he was overthrown. See, so all of these things come out. On top of that, you heard me say 2 weeks ago, excuse me, one of the greatest killers of Fulani people. Was it you? Was it me? Huh? It was this man, the ex-president of Niger, Afro Arab. This man here allowed the slaughtering of the Fulani herdsmen a lot. And that's why I told 2 weeks ago, stop crying for this man, my brothers in the Fulani community. Stop to cry for this man. Because if you were there today, you may not be living, because they still are active in hunting down Fulani people. This is why I say the Hausa and Fulani should get together, protect one another, and take the place out. They can do it to stop all this madness. So that's, the crux of it situation, brothers and sisters. We have a problem. We're going to deal with it. Each one of us may have our solutions to it. And anyone who listens to this and they want to throw questions another time, no problem. After because it's Saturday, I understand it's summertime. People have things to do, better things to do than listen to me. And they may view this tape another day, no problem. And you can put your questions. I will entertain those questions. This is the first time I've ever done this part where I just opened it up for people. And this is just the first time. I'll do this another time again, because I just wanted to get the people's input. And I understand it's not easy sometimes because where you live, to show yourself. I understand it and make comments because, programs like this is hot because they focus heavily on going after people like me. And so I understand that and whatnot. But, I'll get ready to close with this. You see these brothers here, this ulama and fuqaha of Nigeria, some. And here these courageous brothers were allowed to go into Niger. And I'm so proud of them. And I'm proud in this sense that the president of Nigeria, he had the stones to say, you know what, we can't do this because we're dealing with other Muslims. I'll let scholars from here to go into Niger to talk to the brothers there in Niger, and they did a good job. And it was a respectful, beautiful gathering. I wish I could have saw this live. Here they coming here to meet their brothers in Niger. This is the way the black man is supposed to be done. This is way Polaco. This is our way, the Fulani way. This is the way it is. Look how meticulously dressed our African scholars are dressed. They're not in Armani suits. They're not in suits from New York or anything. They're in abadas because we're Africans. We're not Tuba, right? We're Africans. We look good in our clothing. Our African scholars showed up as African Muslims. And the brothers in Niger greeted them with respect as they earned, because they earn that respect. Because the Muslim scholar is not a punk or thug on the corner. They have a special covenant with Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. But what is intriguing for me is because we're so brainwashed today, we turn on the TV, we see Africans all the time dressed like Europeans, especially the Muslims. And we don't know what they are. We have to ask questions if they're Muslim or not. We listen to them. They don't say Bismillah. They don't say anything, the veneration of Subhanahu wa ta'ala or Prophet salam. So we don't know what they are. It's puzzling. But our African brothers, our Nigerian scholars here, our brothers here, left no doubt who they were. They were black men. They're Africans. And they dressed the part according to our customs. Not the customs of the Tubab, but our customs, because this is our land. This is our place. So we dress in clothes that we look good in. Our clothing, our culture. And this is why this picture here, to me, when I first saw it, gave me chills, because I'd love to see this. I'm so tired of looking at our African leaders dressed like Europeans. The suits are too small. They don't look good. See, they don't look good. And our brothers here showed out. They did a good thing. And I'm very proud of them that they did go to Niger. And I hope their talks were fruitful, because, this is something that we need in Africa. And as you heard me say, we need to have the African scholars involved in the conflicts in the Sahel, because we can at least get the people to the table. Why? Because most of the leaders, I don't care where they are, they listen to the Islamic scholars. Why? Because they bring the Quran and they bring the Sunnah with them. Not the hypocrites in the modern governments, because they can't trust them, because they're nothing more than Tubab Africans. But when the African scholar steps in, when he says to you, Salaam alaikum, and he addresses you and, Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. When you hear him talk this way, you know where his head's at. You know his heart is in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So our leaders, especially our younger brothers, they have instant respect for that. When a pencil neck Tubab African comes in with his Armani suit that's too small, he doesn't venerate Subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't venerate the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. They have no respect. And usually they know that behind them sitting a Tubab. See, so this is why this situation here is very important, as far as I'm concerned, is that the ulama fuqaha of Africa get involved in the conflict in the Sahel and start to talk to the leaders, to bring them to the table. We have the statesmen. You've been hearing me for weeks talk about, we have statements like this, statement people. We have people who are scholars, intellectuals. They can mediate situations like this, even though the rulers are not ruling by Sharia law. But these guys can still come in to mediate because they have instant credibility and respect. How about these hypocrite modern rulers? They don't have it. Our president there in Nigeria, he kind of admits that. He's not a strong fundamentalist Muslim. He can't go in there and talk about the Quran and so forth, because he doesn't do that. He doesn't even dress nobody in the Islamic manner. But he had enough foresight and wisdom to say, look, I can't do this, but you can, my brothers of ulama and fuqaha of Nigeria. So you go to Niger. So we have to give him his kudos for allowing our brothers to go over there, because it was a beautiful sight to see them there and seeing them being greeted by their brothers from Niger. It's a beautiful thing to see black people do this. I'm sick and tired of us killing one another, and we cannot have respect for one another. We can only greet somebody wholeheartedly unless he's a Tubab. I'm tired of that. When I see this, we should be championing this, brothers and sisters. We should be championing what we see here. We should be pushing for this type of thing. We people that's on the ground, we should be asking our leaders to put the intellectuals like this into the fray in the Sahel. Bring them into this, because they have instant credibility and respect. And I don't know if you guys agree with me or disagree with me on this fact, but I really believe that. We have a brother here, Jeff Billings. Not all African Muslims, but Asiatic Muslims, we belong to the Asiatic race. Don't forget, we are the Holy Land, Mecca. All the melanated people are Asiatics. Well, yes, we would have a dispute because the original man is not from Asia. The original man is from Africa. That's one thing, my dear brother, that the Subhanahu wa Ta'ala put the man in Africa, and then we know this has been found because you find these black people, our people everywhere in Asia, in the South Pacific. They were there, and so since they were here on this continent first, our scholars all believe that the first man was an African man. Yes, he went to Asia, because you look in the Philippines, you find black people there. You look in India, you find black people. You look in the Indian Ocean, you see there's the Sentinel Islands and there's the Andaman Islands. They're all black people there who originate from Africa. If you go to the South Pacific, you find native black people there as well. Also, even in Japan, do you know that when the Japanese told that they were Africans in the 7th century, all the way to about the 15th century, then they begin to die off, intermarry, and so forth and so on. Africans were there. We also know that Africans were in China as well, because the Chinese finally start to release some of this evidence. There were small stature people. You know who they look like? The people from South Africa. You know, the Croatian speakers. What do everybody call them? Pygmies. I hate to call them that. This is what the original Chinese people look like. Black, short statured, you know, with the Asian appearance, but they were Africans. They look like Croatian speakers from Southwest Africa. So this is, you know, very interesting. This is a matter of dispute, and I respect your take here. But you know, I prefer myself to be an African, and this is because my ancestors are from here. And I don't know about the other brothers, but this is your take. But Asiatic black people, yes, they're there. And I agree with you in that regard, because we do have them. In the Philippines, we have them. They call them negritos. The ones in Sentinel Islands in the Indian Ocean next to India and all that, they have different names for them, but they're black folk. And you should see the pictures of those people. They were originally there for time immemorial. See? So that's a very interesting take, because we have different opinions, some of us, about our origins. What should we call ourselves? That's still in dispute as well. Even like you say, you look at the Americas, the African American, they don't know what to call themselves because there's confusion. Is he a Negro? Is he black? Is he African American? Is he Afro American? You know, we have that problem. In Africa, we have a big continent. But because we have been divided up, we're now Nigerians, we're Ghanaians, we're Moroccans, we're Algerians, we're South Africans, we're Zimbabweans. You know, this is what, it's a problem. And we have not been able to solve that yet, but we were getting close to solving that. But a Muslim is a Muslim, irrespective, Muslim aku Muslim, irrespective of where he comes from. If he's from India, he's our brother. If he's from Kashmir, he's our brother. If he's from China, from Japan, or from the Philippines, he's a Muslim, he's our brother, irrespective of his color, his height, his weight, his wealth. He's our brother, Muslim aku Muslim. So yes, you know, we have differences of opinion in that regard, but I understand the jest that you gave to us here. And so, brothers and sisters, you know, this. I can't stress the importance of the Islamic involvement in this, because the Islamic governance has to be implemented in order to save us. Because you heard me say, I mean, worldwide prices are going up. We have failures of bank because of the interest rates and everything. It's killing us. When we go to eat now, I can remember even here, we buy certain foods. I cannot believe how much it skyrocketed. Here we live in a coastal, state, and the fish is skyrocketing. The prices for fish. Many people can't even eat fish, and here we have the ocean right next to us. See, we have areas of the tropics where we have tropical fruit all over the place. Now you go to the marketplace where you used to be able to get this for a few dolares or a few ducats or whatever situation, whatever you call your money. Now the prices are skyrocketing. All this is under the democratic ways and means, and it's killing us. It's killing us, brothers and sisters. I mean, you know, it's killing us. One more thing here, our dear brother here in Burkina Faso, he's making a lot of waves. He's showing out in a lot of the media and so forth and so on. He's been talking lately about freeing up Africa, and he said he wants all the Africans to unite. He's now even frozen some of the assets of the Europeans who were taking the mineral wealth out. He's froze that. So kudos to the brother. I disagree with him on his Islamic stance, but that's for another day. You know my position on that. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear in the Quran what we're supposed to be governed by. But the brother's got potential. He's still not going to allow the Europeans to run roughshod over Burkina Faso anymore. Africa is not theirs no more, according to him. He's going to do everything in his power to fight to keep the Tuba from running his the land that he's governing now. He's made this point to say that he wants the Africans to rule Africa, not the Europeans. Yes, he's got alliances with the Russians right now, but he's made it clear that nobody's going to walk into Burkina Faso anymore and take anything out except Africans. So we got to give the brother kudos in it. I got a couple of questions here. Okay, here, brother said there's a place called, because the man began in Mecca. This is why once in a lifetime Muslims, yes, we differ in this, again, my dear brother, because the first man was discovered, and we know he was created here in Africa, because a lot of the area was not opened up yet, and Africa was first populated. And then when Subhanahu wa ta'ala cleared the land, cleared the ice for Europe, cleared out the water, we had waterways, and we had eruptions. Then the Africans began to go across the Middle East, as we know, into Asia, as we understand today. You heard me talk about, they went into India, they went into the Indian Ocean, they went down to the South Pacific. You find Black native people everywhere there. But they originated out of Africa. They did not originate out of the Middle East. See, but so I understand what you're trying to say. Well, we can't take away from the fact that the Black man was the first man on this earth, and he was created. Subhanahu wa ta'ala put us here on this earth. He put us here in Africa first. So that we know this is the bottom line to this. And our dear sister said, good work. Thank you very much, my dear sister, for your comment. And our sister here, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And so I'm happy, my dear brothers, that we're starting to look and starting to have these talks. All African should be in units and united. Yes, we should. We have to do this. We're going to have to unite. But I believe that the only way we can do it, we have to unite under Islam. Because I saw what is happening from the 700s to the 1800s. Boy, we were powerful. We were united because we had these Islamic kingdoms, sultanates, and emirates. And the Europeans couldn't take us out. It took a lot of years, hundreds of years, for them to finally take us out. And even when they did do it, it's very difficult. This is why they wanted to make sure that the Africans never ruled by Islamic law again, because they had a hard time removing it. This is why they keep pushing for democratic ways and means, because it's easy for them to take us out. See? So I believe under the Islamic banner, we'll be able to again be strong. And it's going to happen, because our Prophet said that the world will be under his domain. The fastest growing religion in the world is what? Islam. And one more thing too, my dear brothers. There's a lot of talk in YouTube. You pull up some of the most famous, the talking heads who you see. There's a couple of sisters here and there, brothers. They talk good about Africa, but you never hear them give you solutions. They only tell you we should do this. They give you a little bit of history of what the Europeans have done, which we all know. We know they have colonized us. We know they've stolen their wealth. But you sit there and you wait in their 30-minute dialogue. You never hear them give you solutions, what we should do, how we should be governed, how our economic system should be done. They don't talk like this. And that's the bad thing. They're just talking, but they're not giving us solutions. I'm telling you what I believe we should be doing. I ain't hiding that. We should go back to Islamic governance and Islamic financing because it worked. We have history for that. We have proof of that. See, so what they're saying, and I want them to show me the democratic ways and means how our ancestors ruled under that, which they didn't, and it was not successful. Now we've had decades of failures and coups after coups, unhappy people because of democratic ways and means. The Tubab left us. He left his governance in our lands, didn't he? You think about that. This is his governance, and we're still trying to run by it, and we are confused. We don't know how to do it. We don't get it right. Our people are unhappy. We have prices are skyrocketing. We see crime skyrocketing. We have coups and revolutions going on every 6 months, every 8 months. We have insurrections going on. All this under democratic ways and means. And so our talking heads who get up there on YouTube and in programs, you hear they talk good, but they never give us a solution. They never tell you anything. See, so this is what I'm against that, and I'm hoping that they would give us the solutions. We got beautiful African scholars over the place, but they don't give us anything. I wait for them to tell me what governance they want to use. They don't give us that. They never tell us what financial system they want to use. And the minute they tell you some democratic way, you should turn it off or talk against them, which I've done, because it doesn't work. If it worked, we would not have the problems we have now, because the democratic financing situation doesn't work, brothers and sisters. It's not approved by Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. It's not approved. It's not working well at all. So, in a nutshell, brothers and sisters, I think that's going to be about it. I don't have any more questions here. And I'm happy that those who showed up today. And brothers and sisters, we can always agree to disagree. Our brothers and sisters, so this means that you don't know why Mecca is the holy place. No, my dear brother, I'm a Muslim. How can you say that? I'm an intellectual in Islam as well. I know the place of Mecca. We know why, this is the place where our dear prophets made their pilgrimage. I'm very aware of that. That's not the issue. You're saying about the black people and being Asiatic. And this is the issue we're talking about. Now you jump into another issue about Mecca. Mecca, we know what Mecca is. The Muslims were first praying not towards Mecca, and then the Prophet corrected us and had us to pray toward this. The pilgrimage was always around Mecca. We understand that. It is the holy place. I understand that very, very well. This is one of the requirements in Islam is making the pilgrimage, going to make what we call Hajj, to go to Mecca. I understand it very well. But the issue of a black man, is he Asiatic or if he's African, is the issue I was saying with you, is that the black man, he's African because he was first created and placed on earth in Africa, because Africa was the first place that was opened up. See, so that's the issue I was talking about. But this here, Mecca, so this means you don't know why Mecca is the holy place. That's not right. How me as a Muslim, if I didn't know that, I cannot be a Muslim. And that's not the issue. I never said that. So you switched my words around to make it appear as though I was talking against the holy site. That's one of our 5 requirements that we have to make Hajj. We understand that. And where do you make Hajj? Here in Africa? No, we make it in Mecca. That's a holy place. Our Prophet Islam give us direction and guidance in that regard. And I adhere to that. A Muslim who does not cannot be a Muslim. So this is the issue. It's a separate issue when we talk about the Imaniya Islamiyya. When we want to get into that subject, then we talk about that type, what is required of us, prayer, zakat, all of those are issues that are required by all Muslims. Going to Hajj one time in their lifetime, is all of this is part of the package of Imaniya Islamiyya. See, but you have made comments talking about humanity, see, and you were talking about the black people and so forth. And here you said not all African Muslims, but Asiatic Muslims, we belong to the Asiatic race. But see, so I'm trying to get what you're trying to get at here and your comments. I'm perhaps I'm not understanding. Maybe some other people who may be looking at this, maybe they have their input on this, but I disagree with you in this regard, because I look at the Africans. They were here first, but we know that the Africans moved into Asia, as you heard me talk about earlier, which they went into the across the Middle East into to India and the Indian Ocean and so forth and so on into Asia. They went there because they still have native Black populations there as we speak. Now, the Sentinel Islands, there's the Andaman Islands, and next to India, all of them are housed by Black people, and they still Black all these millennium. I mean, for thousands and thousands of years, they've been there. So that's the part I disagree with. But to say that I don't know why Mecca is a holy place, I think it's a big stretch. It's not right what you say. I say this because the word Africa was coined by, yes, and name was given by Northern Africa. So how can you, or we are, okay, I'm trying to remember now. We have a couple of names for Africa. Oh boy, I can't. According to the language you speak, Africa has a name. And we have not come to the consensus yet on what name we should call ourselves. And so, yes, we use what is convenient because this is what people use in order for you to get understanding into who they are. Like Egypt, they call Egypt, and Egypt was not the name that was used by the native Black Africans of Egypt. It's called Kemt. But we call Egypt today because that's the name that the Greeks gave it. So we still use the word Egypt today, even though our ancestral brothers there call it Kemt. See, what's the name, the African name? Oh man, I can't think of the name that they call Africa. Abulan. No, I can't remember now the name. I see it here written, but I can't remember the pronunciation of it. But yeah, the Africans, I use it because this is the name that we all understand and for geographical understanding. If I use the term Kemt, a lot of African and other Black people, even white people, don't know what I mean by Kemt. I'm talking about Egypt. They would not know. If I said Kemt, they said, what are you talking about? They would not know. But if I say Egypt, they know what that means. So when I say Africa, they understand what I mean by that. But we have other names for Africa in many different languages. I know in the Fulfulde language, I can't think of it now because I have a Fulfulde map, but they called Africa a different name. See, so it all depends on who is in what language. So what language do we use to call Africa? Swahili? Do we use Fulfulde? What language do we use? Do we use Bambara? Do we use Hausa? What language do we use to coin the name of Africa? The Zulus have a name for Africa as well. It's different than that of Fulfulde. See, so which name do we use? We have to come together in Africa to make a consensus on what do we call Africa, because the Zulus call Africa a different name. See, our brothers who speak Lingala, they call Africa another name. See, our brothers who speak Arabic, they call Africa, they have another name, Ifriqiya, they call that. See, so which name do we use in order for us to have to have the proper name? Because if we say we're only going to use Fulfulde, our Hausa brothers say, well, why are we only picking it from the Fulfulde language? Our brothers in South Africa who speak Zulu and speak Bantu, they're going to say, no, we want Africa named, coined from our language because we think it's the best. Our Swahili brothers there in Tanzania and Uganda and so forth and so on, they're going to say, no, we have a name for Africa as well. It should be in Swahili. Our brothers who speak Lingala will say, no, we have a name for Africa too. So which name do we use and what language do we use to call Africa? This is my contention on that and everything. So I use what is convenient because this is what we all use. And when they come with a consensus on the name, what we call Africa, I'm down with it. Just like now they voted, the African Union voted, I think 2 years ago, that they wanted to make Swahili as the national language of Africa, all of Africa. And they start to implement this in the southern part of Africa, Southern Africa, starting to teach the children Swahili because they want one national language where a brother leaving Ghana, he wants to go to Zimbabwe, now we speak English or we speak French or whatever. They want to be able to use Swahili as the national lingua of Africa. And so it was voted for that. See, so we're starting to kind of get that. We still don't have one currency yet. We don't even have open borders yet either. So until we open up the borders, we still are called, Azania in South Africa. We still have Zimbabwe. We have Madagascar. We have the Cameroons. We have Sudan. We have Ghana. Until we open up the borders, then once everything is open, then we can have consensus, especially among our young African brothers and sisters, what we call Africa. But until that time, we still got to use the names that has been coined at. So if there's any more questions or comments, brothers and sisters, please feel it, because I'm gonna get ready to close here pretty soon. And if there's anything about Niger and whatnot, or the Sahel that you want to talk about, we can talk about that. If not, I'll wait a couple of more minutes. Then we can, I'll close here. But I wanted to also run something by you too. What do you guys think about the Mujahideen, and what do you think our position? That may be very difficult for others to answer on this, because it's a sensitive issue. I know the position of the Mujahideen, because since everybody, even Africans, consider the Mujahideen groups to be terrorists, because this is the name that they understand them, because this is the name that the Tubabs have said. But these individuals are playing a part of this. And the reason why they cannot take out most of these areas is because of those people there. Because the Mujahideen position is very strong all through 25 states in particular right now. And so I don't know how they're going to filter them out. It's going to be very difficult for them to filter it out, because nobody's talking about them as though they have moved away. And matter of fact, brothers and sisters, when you saw my, it brought me to the point, where is it now? Where is it? Oh man, I don't see where I had it. I had the picture of the brothers. No, that's not it. Yeah. Now, and I will close out for this. Brothers and sisters, I want you to kind of look at this picture here for a minute. Because you remember some of the talks I had, we were talking about all of these CNN, all of these Western media groups linking you, me, every black Muslim, he's either Al-Qaeda or he's ISIS, right? And remember, I've been telling you for weeks that it's not the case. The Fulani herdsmen and the Messina are made up of Fulani herdsmen. I've been telling you, but if you listen, the Christian Monitor, there's all these other think tanks. They've been writing about the Muslims, okay? Talking about the Sahel region. They linked you, me, anyone who's Fulani to the AQ, the Al-Qaeda, or to ISIS. And I've been telling you that the Messina group has been fighting Boko Haram. They have been fighting the AQ. They've been fighting the Islamic State. Here's the article talking about that. So what I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, is this. When you read these articles and these think tanks and the Europeans and there's the Pentagon report, all this kind of stuff, you think twice before you start calling your Fulani herdsmen AQ and IS. As they heard me say, in northern Nigeria, the Fulani herdsman is fighting Boko Haram. In Niger, the Fulani herdsman is fighting the Islamic State and fighting Boko Haram. See, they're not the AQ. They're not ISIS. So I'm hoping this article here disband this, because there's a picture taken talking about that. The brothers, the Messina, the Kitab Messina, which I call a Messina group, are mostly Fulani herdsmen and other militias. They don't belong to the Islamic State, and they don't belong to the AQ. So when you read these articles, brothers and sisters, when they start talking about the Fulani herdsmen and they calling them AQ and ISIS, you write in the column section, if you can, tell them you are wrong, because the Messina group are Fulani herdsmen. The Fulani herdsmen have been designated by the UN as the fourth deadliest, group on Earth right now. They did not lump them with AQ and ISIS. So I wanted to clear that up as well. I'm glad I forgot to mention about this, because my marquee, what I used today for this program, is this. And the Kitab Messina is not ISIS. That right there should tell you this is why they're fighting them. And remember, I gave you a lesson for 2 weeks in a row about this. In 2020, now we'll close. In 2020, there's a big meeting that took place between the Messina, Kitab Messina here, which is Fulani herdsmen mainly, other Fulani herdsmen groups, Fulani militia, also there with the Afro-Tuaregs. Also there were the Afro-Arabs. Also there was Islamic State. Also there was the AQ. Remember, I was talking about that. They could not come up with a consensus on how they can go and control the Sahel, because Islamic State and the AQ wanted to do what they do best: kidnapping, robbery, setting bombs, killing innocent Muslims, and so forth and so on. Kitab Messina and the Fulani herdsmen said no, they don't want to do this. They want to fight the government straight out to protect their homeland and to bring in the Sharia law. Islamic State said they were against them. The AQ said they were against them. So after this meeting, the Kitab Messina and the Fulani herdsmen began to fight Islamic State and AQ. So now you know the truth. I just read another article by another group talking about this issue. Again, to me, you, anyone who's Fulani is now basically the AQ or IS. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. That's horrendous to lump all of us. You heard me say, for the record, Islamic State and the AQ have no damn business being in the Sahel. They have none. Their fight is in the Jazeera Arab. They came to Africa thinking that they're going to do something they can't. They don't have the manpower or the will or the right or the might to take out the Sahel. The Sahel belongs basically to our groups who've been there for all these centuries. It belongs to the Tuareg, the Afro-Arabs, the Fulani, the Bambara, the Wolof, all of these groups, the Hausa, the Tiv, the Yoruba, the Igbo. This is our land. This land doesn't belong to the Islamic State or to the AQ. It's not their problem. What does the AQ and Islamic State have to do with the Fulani herdsmen? There's no connection, brothers and sisters. We have to use common sense. There's no connection. The Fulani herdsmen's problem has not to deal with terrorism. It has to deal with protecting their waterways, protecting their grazing land, and protecting their cattle. This is why they differ with Islamic State. Yes, the Fulani herdsmen have been vicious in their retaliation, but they're not Islamic State. They're not the AQ. So I want to get that straight. I want to make sure we understand that and so forth. And the Fulani brothers and the Hausa brothers, you guys should be very leery and never allow the Western media to lump you with Islamic State or the AQ. You are not terrorists. You don't belong to Islamic State. Yes, we got some Fulani who joined Islamic State. Yes, we have some Fulani brothers who joined the AQ. We have Hausa brothers also who joined Islamic State and joined AQ. Is every Hausa AQ Islamic State? No. Is every Fulani belonging to Islamic State and AQ? No, that's a fallacy. It's a lie. So you should fight that every chance you get. When they label you Fulani brother, they say that you're AQ or IS, you fight them. And our Hausa brothers too, when they label you that, because this is the way that the Tubab does, so they're right, they can kill you and me outright by saying all these Fulani, they belong to Islamic State or they belong to AQ. You fight that, brothers and sisters. So, brothers, I've been here on here for a long time. The first true and divine for Africa is axiom, which means the land of the gods. I heard that word before. There's another. I'll I'll boy, you know what? I just can't think of the name. I remember when I was in college, I read the name Abu Lan. No, Abu Lan. I can't think of the name that I remember when I was in college many many decades ago. That they had named Africa, but I know this name as well. And if I'm not mistaken, this name here came from Geese. If I'm not mistaken, because this name, I think this name came from the Geese. And again, here we go again with another, because Geese was the ancient language. Yeah, let me see. There you go. Just thank you, my dear brother King. There you go. This is it. This is the name I saw when I was in college. And matter of fact, all the radical brothers and sisters in America in college, that's what we start calling Africa. We use this name because this is the name. That's right, brother. Thank you very much, my brother King, because I had a difficult time trying to remember the name and even pronouncing it. Because even then, I had a hard time trying to pronounce the name. At that time, and I remember this is the name that we used a lot. But I know, if I'm not mistaken, this name Axiom, I remember this. It seemed like to me it's in the Geese language, if I'm not mistaken. But my dear brother King enlightened us. Yes, this is the name that I remember very well when we was in college. And I remember because in those days when I was in college, we had the big afros. I mean, we wore the big old afros, and we were, in our approach, we were gun ho for Africa and being black and everything like this. And so we didn't want to use the name Africa. We coined this name because it's the name that we were told. So thank you, my dear brother King, for that. I really appreciate that. So my brothers and sisters, with that, I think I will go ahead and close today. And those who showed up today, I really appreciate it. Thank you, my dear brother King, my brother, dear brother Saeed, and my dear brother Jeff. Thank you, my brother, for your comments. Our sister Amina, I appreciate it very much. So who else here? Our brother Eagle Mindset Fitness. Thank you very much. Of course, my dear brother King. Thank you for enlightening us with the wording, because I was having a hard time trying to remember. I really appreciate that very much, my dear brother, that you helped me out in that, because I'm getting older too, and it was a long time since we used that word for Africa. I just couldn't remember, because it's almost been about 40, almost about 50 years since I remember we used that term for Africa, and I really appreciate that. So my dear brothers and sisters, I will close. If you like my talks, please subscribe to me, brothers and sisters, and please spread my tape, hit the like button. I really appreciate that. If you like your talk from your brother, please subscribe and pass on the information, because I'll give it to you straight. I don't hold back. I'm a Fulani American brother, but I'm Fulani period, and I'm here on the African continent. And so, I'm, proud to be a brother. And thank you, my dear brother. Thank you, my dear brother. Yeah, inshallah ta'ala, Jamtun, we say in Pular. I appreciate it. And my dear brothers and sisters, I'll try to have these type of talks again in the future, because the Sahel, we need to talk. We all need to express what we feel about the Sahel, because this is our land, this is our brothers, and we should talk about it, because this is our homeland, and we should talk about it, how we're going to protect it, and how we can manage it, and how we can be free, and we can force our leaders to open up the borders, so I can visit my brother King here. He can come and visit me here in Morocco. We can have conferences like this on the Sahel. We can meet in the Gambia. We have because the borders are open now. We fly in. We can all meet the brothers, Jeff, everybody, all, Mina, everybody comes to the Gambia, or we go to Senegal, or we come to Accra, Ghana. I want the borders open so we can all meet one day and have a meeting. We can embrace one another, and so forth and so on. Like our brothers did here. This is what I want, where I want to be able. You guys come into Fez, Morocco. You come here to Morocco. I should be able to greet you at the airport. you'd be able to fly into Morocco without any problem of visas. And I should be able to come to see you in the Gambia and Liberia or the Sierra Leone and other places. Maybe somebody may invite my family, the brothers here. Someone may want to invite my family into Ghana or something. We should be able to, I should be able to fly into Ghana with my family to come see the brothers there. And how about my brothers in Nigeria as well? Because I have a lot of kinfolk in Nigeria, among the Fulani brothers in particular. I have a lot of kinfolk there. I would love to see them. I want to see them. I got kinfolk there in the Gambia as well. I cringe and I cry because I want to go see them. I want to go meet them and hug them and get to know my relatives that are there in the Gambia and get to see some of my dear friends and brothers and cousins there in Nigeria as well. But the way things are now, we can't because our borders are closed up. Some of the scholarly bodies and intellectuals like myself, we can't travel everywhere, and we have to get that changed. So my brothers and sisters, thank you for showing up, and those are in the future. And I will close with that. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.